Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to jump into Lightroom and walk through editing this photo of the Lamborghini SC63. Now let's open up Lightroom, turn screen record on, and get down into it. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do here is come over and apply my go-to preset. And what that basically is going to do is change the profile from Adobe Color to Camera Standard to match the colors from your specific camera instead of just what Adobe has. And that's going to save you a lot of time in the long run editing to get accurate colors. And then we're going to come over here first into local adjustments, and we're just going to bring out the blue more in the guardrail right here. Just increase that to roughly that, the exposure, and then maybe adjust shadows, bring down the contrast in that too. There's these ugly spots. To take those out, we're also going to come down here and just turn down the texture and clarity, and maybe just bring in a little bit of saturation into that. Then we're going to add in another linear gradient down here to bring out a little bit more of the curve that the guardrail had to it. Essentially something like that. And then our third linear gradient is going to be on the sky, because you want to really bring out the whites from the stands in Daytona. And I always just love all the colors back there too. And then we're going to also come down here, turn down the texture, bring down the clarity, maybe bring in a little bit more dehaze just to get a little contrast in the trees. A little black, a little separation in the stands over there too. Maybe play around with contrast. For this, I think I'm going to do a little bit less contrast. And then we'll get down into a subject mask on the car. Now that we got our rough subject mask, we're just going to do a few minor things. Bring up the shadows a little bit, bring down the highlights, add a little bit of contrast to bring out those headlights. We'll get more into that later. You want to bump up the texture on this just to add a few more details, and then maybe a little bit of dehaze into that. And these are all just going to be very tiny adjustments. Alright, so let's get down into brushing. We'll go onto the windshield to start off with. Just take away most of that blue tint. Alright, so now we got Alright, so now we got our mask over the windscreen. We're just going to come down here and just change that just slightly. Increase the contrast, bring down the blacks. And we're also just going to bump up the clarity. Just like so. And that's looking pretty good. I'm also just going to come down here. We're going to just paint and just bring out the white more in the livery. It looks a little dull with the dirt on it. So then this is real simple. We'll just bring up the whites. And then we're also going to add another brush mask. And zoom in down here and just bring out the red more on the little accents here and there. Yeah, we're just gonna up the shadows a little bit, maybe up the highlights too. Up some saturation, just makes it pop a little bit more. And last thing we'll do is come over here and edit our kind of basic adjustments. So we'll add a little bit more contrast. And then whites are good. Blacks are fine. Might bring down the shadows slightly. Bring up the highlights ever so slightly too. A little bit of dehaze. And one final thing I like to do is just come over here to masking. You just want to hold down Alt just to get the just so it sharpens just the really fine details. And bring it up to roughly around 62-ish. It's usually what I usually do for racing. And just bring up color noise up to around 80s. Leave the luminance. And maybe bring down a little. No, we're just gonna not do that. And I think we're done here. So if you enjoyed watching this video, please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.